Welcome to Season 1 of Amplify Connect, the podcast presented by East Yard Enterprises. I'm Kevin Gareth Fotheringham, and I invite you to join me for dynamic conversations with changemakers and visionaries as we explore development work, art and social impact, and the transformational power of cultural diplomacy. Today, we are honored to sit with Kimberly De Souza, a powerhouse in the field of media and communications. With over 15 years of experience spanning print, online, and broadcast media, Kimberly has made an indelible mark as an award-nominated journalist, storyteller, and communications strategist. Her popular See Yourself feature on TTT News was shortlisted for the Inter-American Development Bank's President Award for Innovation and Service Excellence, a testament to her dedication to impactful storytelling. As an avid writer, she has contributed to renowned publications such as Caribbean Belle, Culture Ego, and Caribbean Beat, the in-flight magazine of Caribbean Airlines. Her expertise extends to scriptwriting, having served in the communications department at the Office of Parliament, and she has also worked as a communications officer for the Green Screen Film Festival, advocating for environmental sustainability through media. A Fulbright Scholar, Kimberly was awarded a prestigious scholarship to pursue her master's degree in the United States in 2015. Today, she continues to shape narratives and drive meaningful engagement as the corporate communications manager at the Trinidad and Tobago Housing Development Corporation, HDC. But beyond her remarkable career, Kimberly is also a dear friend, someone whose insight, talent, and passion for storytelling I deeply admire. I am beyond excited to share this conversation with you. Let's dive into today's episode. So we're back for another episode of Amplify Connect. We're once again in the American Center. And, I'm really excited for today's episode, but I'm excited for every episode. But I'm even more excited for today's episode because I get to interview one of my dear friends over the many years, Kimberly De Souza. And what's interesting is that today the tables are turned because Kimberly has interviewed me on quite a few occasions. Now I'm getting to interview her. So I'm kind of nervous there because I'm not a professional journalist. When I'm sitting opposite from a professional journalist and communications specialist and Fulbright Scholar.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a by the way, Fulbright Scholar.
Yeah. So welcome, Kimberly.
Yes.
And I'm really happy to have you. And we're jumping right in
Of course.
because this podcast really focuses on the journey of the various exchange alumni who have been granted the opportunity by the embassy to, spend time in the States and learn and grow and, like a sponge absorb from a different culture. So tell me about your Fulbright experience.
Yeah, jumping right in.
Right in.
Indeed. Right. So I was working at Parliament at the time and I wanted to do my master's. I had done my bachelor's a few years before and I wanted a new experience. So I'm probably it's divine intervention. It may have been God. But I remember I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw an ad for Fulbright Scholars that they were looking for Fulbright Scholars. And I said, what is this? Did some research and applied. I applied, I got through and I was off to the US to study. I did my master's in English because I didn't want to do communications as a master's because I had my bachelor's in media and communications, but I was interested in doing writing and memoirs and creative writing and stuff like that. So I did my master's in English at Binghamton University. I did it in 2015 to 2017. I remember when I told my family that I was going to New York. Of course, when you think New York, you think New York City proper, right? And when I told my aunt who lives in Brooklyn, she said, no, girl, you're going up in the boonies. You're going upstate. And when I took my first train ride from GFK to Binghamton University, I'm like, it's like 3.5 hours away from New York City. But I think because it's away from New York City, it's less distractions. And there's a little community that all the college students built in Binghamton. So it was really, really nice. It is a really multicultural college because one of my friends was from Russia, and one of my roommates was from Korea. So there's a lot of different people coming together. So I didn't feel as if I wasn't home, because it's like it's back home where I'm seeing different ethnicities, different religions, that sort of thing. It was a really great experience just to be in a mix with different people, learning from these great professors. You see their name on Google, and
Right.
they are published authors,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it was great to learn from them, to kind of pick their brain. And I did my dissertation, I did it with somebody who was published as well. So it was a really great experience in terms of I didn't miss home, not in a bad way, but I felt at home at Binghamton because of the different cultures and because of everything that I learned. It was a really great experience. And what I loved about the Fulbright program as well is that once you maintain a certain GPA, once you're okay, they give you an additional year to work in your field.
Wonderful.
And I took advantage of that. So because I did my master's in English, I got a job as an English language teacher at a charter school in Manhattan. So I had one more year's experience in the States. And that was also amazing, also a great experience. So I would tell anybody to apply for the Fulbright program.
And then you left the woods
And then
to come into the city.
And I experienced what that is in terms of, again, multicultural. I love the fact that you could take a train and go anywhere. So you swipe your lecture card, you just keep taking transfers and going all over the place. So you could go listen to jazz in Greenwich Village. I was lucky to be living in Bushwick, which was a mix of gentrification and old Brooklyn. So I got to see both sides of it. Again, my roommates were people from different countries. So it really was a nice experience. Teaching was hard. Like I was listening to the last person who was talking about how teaching and she enjoyed it and stuff. I don't know if that was my experience, because teaching is so difficult. But it was good because even the school that I taught in, there was a Trinidadian boy in my class. His parents are from Trinidad.
There's one everywhere.
Everywhere, right? His parents are from Trinidad. So one of my students had Trinidadian roots. So it was really just learning and growing and experiencing just this different culture. And surprisingly enough, I didn't get much culture shock. Like I saw my friends and, the people were sending them care packages from their country because they were dying for that sort of family and, what they know. For me, I was just like a sponge, just soaking up everything that came and just running with it, So my experience was different because I just wanted to learn, just to experience and just to exchange, because after all, it is an exchange program, right? And I think I did that a lot with my students because we had these different days. I think it's Spirit Days, they call them, or something like that, where you could do different things.
Yeah.
So I was with my Trini flag and, so it was really just this exchange of information, this exchange of culture. And just seeing how different people do different things.
Okay. So, well, you may have answered it, but then maybe not. Maybe it's a different answer you may have for it now. But so you spent almost 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
In that 3-year period, and this is, when you're taking into consideration the studying, the work, the not being at home, the all of that. What do you think was the most challenging thing you had to encounter over that point of this 3-year period?
That's a good question. What was challenging for me during that period? I don't want to say nothing because there was I'm trying to remember what the challenges were because I really didn't have a good experience. I know some people they would have experienced different things. But my experience generally was good. I was surrounded by a great group of people, my roommates. I made a lot of good friends.
You said the teaching was hard.
The teaching was hard. The teaching was hard.
Yeah.
So I had never taught before. And I think because you have your master's in English, they expect you to know English, right? But it was difficult, not because of the job itself, but it was difficult because of the demands that they put on you. So, for example, when I came back home and I told my teacher, I said, I was a teacher. I said, but I didn't know it was about grading papers and the PTA meetings and meeting one-on-one with the parents. And she said, don't you know teaching is 50% administrative? Yes, you would love teaching, right? But it's the administrative part. So the teaching part wasn't bad for me, but the administrative part
of it.
And because it's a charter school, there's a heavy emphasis on exams and getting their students to reach a certain level. And then the charter school that I taught at, they wanted Ivy League placements. So they are grooming them from 9th grade all the way up to senior year. Yeah. So there was a heavy demand on you to perform in the classroom, for you to push your students all the time, and for you to just ensure that they get those grades, that because they have to go to Ivy or they have to go to a good college that will also boost the sort of look and feel of the school.
Of the school itself,
exactly. Yeah. So I think that was the challenging part, the demand of the job. Because, of course, I'm in New York City for a year, so I want to experience life, right? So sometimes it's like, I
You have to
can't
grade papers.
Exactly. I have to grade papers. I have to grade papers. I have to call a teacher. I have to have a one-on-one with the students. So I think that was the challenging part. The administrative part of teaching wasn't very fun because of what the school wanted to achieve. I'm not bashing the school. It is a really good charter school. There's a reason why their students do go to Ivy League colleges because they're so good. Exactly. They're so good. And of course, it maintains the reputation of the school, but there's a lot of pressure on the teachers just to push these students to get where they need to be. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So, I mean, Fulbright is done.
Mm-hmm.
You came back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited when I turned on my television one morning and I was like, yo, my friend is on the morning show.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that you were writing before. You've done a whole host of stuff in journalism and the media. How was that coming back home after Fulbright? What did you bring back from Fulbright to infuse into your journalistic career at home?
So it's going to sound weird, but surprisingly, I got culture shock when I came back home.
Okay,
it was supposed to be the other way around, right? But I got culture shock when I came back home because I'm like, okay, cool. I can no longer return a package to Amazon. I can no longer go to the bank and walk up with a bank card. Like everything was longer here.
Right.
So it was very difficult for me to kind of get back acclimatized to how we do things locally. So I got a bit of culture shock when I came back here. That got out of the window once I started to hang out with family and friends. I was back, Trinidad, I'm back, right? So I had a bit of culture shock when I came home. And then before I made it to TV, I kind of bounced around a bit because you're like, okay, what do I do now? Do I go fully into corporate? Do I go back to media and writing? Like, what do I do? So I think I bounced around. I did a couple of jobs. I was a production assistant for a TV company. And then I think I was actually at powerhouse, that's the production coordinator. I also worked with Green Screen Film Festival as a comms officer. So I kind of did the comms thing for a while. And then the itch of media started back. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I reached out to my network and I got a job at Power 102. And then that led to TTT and Morning Show and all those things. So I was untethered a little bit when I got back home. And then I eventually kind of found my groove and I ended back up on TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how was that experience for you? How long were you on TV?
It was great. So I started off as, so I wasn't even supposed to be in the morning show, but I applied to be a reporter. I saw that they had ads for, I just sent random resumes
out, yeah.
I did. So I sent it to the top names, CNC3, TV6, etc. TTT called for an interview. The lovely Sandra Maraj hired me. I don't know what she saw, but she hired me. And one of the things she said when I came, which was interesting, because I didn't think I had a look. So first of all, I didn't train for TV, I trained for radio, right? And she called me in the office on the first week and she was like, I want you to do more stand-ups. And stand-ups is when you go in front of the TV.
Right.
This is Kimberly De Souza from whatever. Exactly. And I was like, oh my gosh, a stand-up? Now I'm extroverted, so it came naturally, but still there's a fear of going and putting yourself out there, right? And in that first week as well, she said, oh, by the way, the Prime Minister is having a press conference for the diplomatic sector.
All right.
I said, oh my God, diplomatic sector. We were now coming out of COVID. Of course, he was having the press conferences regularly. And I said, you know what? I know to become a journalist, you have to be credible. And I'm going to ask a question. And so that kind of put me out there as well. So even in the back of my mind, I realized I had to become credible to just keep building my career. And so I started off in the newsroom, writing stories, continuing to do stand-ups. We had an introduction where we wanted to do features as part of news. I did See Yourself, as you know. And then the opportunity came. The old host on Now Morning Show, she left. And they put out an ad because they always sort of interview internally. And so they put out a call and they said, we have a vacancy if you want a guest host. And I said, yes, I'd love to. And I remember my first day, I was nervous. But one of the things that I learned still while practicing radio is that your nerves can help you channel your nerves and get over it. And within half an hour, I was fine.
Yeah.
And they were so impressed. They were like, this position is vacant. Do you want it? And I said, well, yes. And that was it. But I was still balancing the two. So a lot of people don't know this, but I would get to work at 4. I'd do the Now Morning Show from 6 to 8. And then I go upstairs in the newsroom and I work from 8 to 4. And then sometimes 8 to 4 is 8 to 6, depending on if you're monitoring Parliament, if there's a press conference. So sometimes it's all day.
Yeah.
So, and then I have to go home, I have to prep for the interviews in the morning. But all those things kind of developed or kind of encouraged a drive in me because I wanted to succeed. This is exactly what I wanted. So it was a lot of hard work, but it was beneficial in the end because I eventually became a name and a face that people can trust.
Correct.
And that was the most important thing for me.
And that is really important, especially when you're thinking about journalism as a whole and, the role of the media.
Yes.
So it's really important.
It is.
You mentioned the See Yourself
Yes.
program.
I love the See Yourself feature because people always ask me why I was never a news anchor. And I said to myself, news is just reading a script news. With a variety show, it's so much more fun.
Correct.
So when they sent out the list of features for people to do, I immediately was called towards See Yourself because See Yourself is so human interest.
Yeah.
I can do an art piece or I can do something on the beaches in Balandra. Like it was just so open for me to do something very different from news.
Mm-hmm.
So I love doing the See Yourself feature and I love interacting with people. I mean, I interviewed this guy from East Yard who ended up being who was my really, really good friend in the past.
Who's that?
So and it also gave me an opportunity to network with my friends and also to give them exposure as well.
Yeah.
So it was a really good feature. I met a lot of amazing people, shared a lot of amazing stories, and just helped to also build my network as well, because you never know how you can help these people or how they can help you in the future. So I love that exchange of meeting people and just exchanging information.
Awesome. So now you came off of television and you stepped into a new role at HDC. So can you tell me how that is going so far and what skills you have brought into that new role now? Because it's housing, so it's people, it's that kind of thing. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I'm the corporate communication manager at HDC. The first few months, I will admit, was rough because it was coming from a sort of relaxed sort of environment into something more rigid and structured. And because it's the fact that we're dealing with the government funds and we're dealing with the people of the country, you have to be very, very careful and very particular about the information you put out there and how you deal with the public. It seems as if my managing director was impressed because I got a mini promotion. So now customer service is also under my department.
Wow.
So I'm managing two departments now, corporate communications and customer service.
Wow.
And so the skills that you're talking about that I brought was that people skill. Like there are some people who, and we had a conversation about this. They know that they can't be helped, but they just want a listening ear.
Of course.
So if that means that I'm on the phone with you for 10 minutes while you vent, I'm listening, or one of my staff is listening to, because they just want someone to talk to. So, and I think I got that skill from being on TV as well, listening to interviews, listening to people, or sometimes you'll go and do a story and there's another story coming out because somebody just wants somebody to listen to them. So it was that, it was also the credibility and the trust, because I need to ensure that whatever information we put, whatever press release comes from HDC, it is absolutely 100% correct, right? Because we don't want our minister, for example, to go to Parliament and somebody's like, listen, what is this?
Correct.
This is contradictory to what you're saying.
Correct.
So the credibility aspect of it definitely lends itself to this new role, and also that sort of attentiveness to people's needs in terms of listening, in terms of seeing how you can help. Sometimes a lot of things that pass by my desk is not my department, and I can just push it off and say, that is not my department. But what is it going to take to spend 2 minutes just to get an update from someone? And just follow up with this clear. So it's just those two things that I use every single day just to ensure that the departments run how they should.
How is it now having to manage a team?
Oof, it's tough. I'm not even going to lie. It's tough because you are, and this is similar to when I was a teacher. You think you're going into a classroom to teach. No, you're going into a classroom to be a mother. You're going to be a listener. You're supposed to have a towel next to you in case somebody needs to cry. You're supposed to have an apple by your desk in case a child doesn't have breakfast. So you think about all those things. And so that is the role I'm in now. I have to manage my staff. Sometimes they have their personal issues. Everybody does. I think one of the things that COVID-19 brought to the fore was the fact that a lot of people are suffering from mental health issues.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a lot of things that they're dealing with. And so we dress pretty and we come to work and people are dealing with these really, really bad situations at home. And so sometimes it's me being like, okay, you know what? She's not on her game today, but I'm going to allow her to just relax because I know she can perform. So it's listening to your employees, seeing how you can get the best out of them, but also empathizing and realizing that they are humans too. Sometimes when they don't come out after the holiday, I'm like, but then I remember, all right, take your day because I know you can perform, right? So it's giving and taking and giving and taking. You have to find a sweet spot to drive them, but also understand when they too need a break.
And I'm sure being a communications expert, comes in handy when you have to deal with that sort of a human resource element of managing a team.
Yeah, because I mean, even when the amazing thing about having two departments under me is that it allows me to cross-train. So, for example, if we don't have employees in the customer service department, I can call my team. Anybody want to double in customer service today? And there was actually a girl who joined my corporate communications department and never knew she liked social media. And she came to me last week and she said, Ms. De Souza, I'm actually doing a course in social media. She started something at CTS. And I'm like, look at how she just wanted the opportunity to come to a different department. And here she is. So it's managing the resources. It's having a one-on-one with their employees as well to figure out what they want. Because sometimes you might be in one department and that's not your passion. That's not where you want to go. But you have a conversation with somebody else and you realize, okay, well, I want to be in communications. I wonder if Ms. De Souza have vacancies in her department. And so you try to not just talk to your staff, but others as well, just to see where they fall. And once it can happen, it can happen. She's thriving right now in social media, So it's also managing the resources, communicating with your staff and seeing how best you can get the best out of them.
Okay. Well, as we started to speak about young people and opportunities and, what would you tell a young person now, a young person listening or watching, who is thinking about a career in communication in general or about a career in the media?
Yeah, this might be a bit unorthodox, but I would say sharpen your people skills and sharpen your small talk skills. And that's why I say that, because, so like I told you, I would start from 4 in the morning. I'd go to 4 or 5 in the evening. And then because you're on TV, you get invited to a lot of stuff, right? And it's because I attended these events and I had small talk with a bunch of people would be like, hey, do you host? I have an event for you to host.
Right.
And my hosting career flourished because of that. Yes, I was on TV. Yes, they saw the credibility. But it's because I was having conversations with people. It's because I was exchanging. I was letting them know, hey, I'm a host, I can host. And so the phone calls keep coming. So yes, we know the world is moving towards digital and everybody wants to be on their own and that kind of thing. But if you really want to be a communications person, you really want to grow your network, sharpen your small talk skills. Find yourself in those events and those networking circles where you can have a conversation with somebody. It doesn't have to be anything exorbitant. Start off with something as minor as the weather. Oh, should be rainy season.
And then you build.
And then you build. So what do you do? Oh, what do you do? Oh my gosh, I know this person. And you realize how small Trinidad is because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody and who can vouch for you as well. So sharpen your small talk skills. Don't be intimidated when you go to these events. Depending on the event, show up, give it your all, exchange some info, and you never know what can come out of that. Because I'm telling you, my hosting career, it actually took off because of that. Just going to those events and networking. Sharpen your small talk skills.
Yeah. Well, Kimberly, all I have to say is keep feeding the passion in all that you do, and the passion really does come to the fore.
Right.
I mean, when anybody sees you, whether on TV, whatever, just sitting right here, right now, I'm feeling the passion radiating. Yeah. When you're talking about what you have done and what you have experienced, then, I mean, I'm sure you've been thinking about what your next moves are.
Exactly, because I'm already getting, like I was telling someone, I'm like, the itch has started back. Where am I going?
What's happening?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether it's a course, whether it's back to study, like something just to keep it going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I started off this interview a little nervous because I'm interviewing a journalist. But Kimberly, I want to thank you so much. Yeah. It has been really fun. Yes. I do want to interview you again in the future.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we'll change it up a bit.
Yes.
But thank you so much, and this has been quite fun. Thank you. Yeah.
What Matters is an invitation into the worlds of 9 young Caribbean authors from Athens School of Education in Trinidad, as they tell us stories about themselves, their communities, and their unsung heroes. Hailing from Trinidad, Guyana, and Jamaica, and residing in communities in Arima, Aruca, Canupia, and Tunapuna, the young authors tackle topics like mental health, career goals, wellness, family dynamics, migration, and the loss of loved ones. Adding to these stories are the first-person accounts of family members, friends, and professionals who took the time to be interviewed by the authors. Their unique voices, approach to writing, and dedication to make us understand what matters to them is an act of courage. They are sharing themselves with the world while telling stories that are uniquely Caribbean. The For Common Good Youth Arts Enrichment Program, an initiative of East Yard Enterprises, funded by the J.B. Fernandez Memorial Trust, implements creative arts and social change programming designed to amplify youth voices and serve as a catalyst for their empowerment. What Matters is available for purchase at East Yard in Arima, on Amazon, and soon in a bookstore near you. A portion of book sales goes to the young authors, with the remainder being reinvested into our creative social enterprise fellowship and accelerator programs, which are offered free to the creative community. Thank you for viewing or listening to this episode of Amplify Connect, the podcast. I want to thank our production partner, RJ Live TT Productions, the team at East Yard Enterprises, and the U.S. Embassy Port of Spain for providing the use of the American Center for recording this episode. Be sure to subscribe, share, leave comments and ratings wherever you view or listen to our podcast. Welcome to our community.